The COVID-19 pandemic has impacted many facets of our world, including higher education and the University of Akron. COVID-19 has made us focus on mitigating infection spread, improving detection, and tracing the infection spread. We have had to find new ways to carry out our work safely, and we will continue to consider such issues as we plan for the fall 2020 semester. Beyond the virus itself, the economic impacts are substantial and will require us all to change and evolve in response to this significant event. As evident in local and national news, most universities and other enterprises are adjusting to the financial, health, and emotional stress that COVID-19 brings. This brief slide deck is intended to outline how we can come together quickly as a community to maintain and enhance the University of Akron's mission and service to our students, the region, the state of Ohio, and beyond. As President Miller has explained, we are estimating a reduction in the general fund amounting to $65 million a year out of a current $325 million per year general fund budget. And thus, we need to build a new budget for fiscal year 2021. The University of Akron is a large and complex enterprise, and it is a very challenging task to make adjustments of thousands and thousands of budget line entries when we establish a new year's budget. Thus, simplified approaches are typically utilized. The simple approach of incremental budgeting passes budget adjustments along in a proportionate manner. This approach is appropriate when there is no need to change the direction or the scope in the operation of the university. The approach is also easily understood by the community. It's easily implemented and usually is accepted quickly. The approach may be equal, but it does not address underlying inequities. It often lacks a linkage to long and short-term strategy. A differential budget adjustment can address long-term challenges, inequities, or strategic interests, but a differential approach also requires shared governance, community engagement, and buy-in. It requires deliberative and deep understanding of the university's vision and goals. Both approaches have merit, and it makes sense to deploy each at different moments of time for a university. We are at a moment where differential adjustments are needed, but we also need to change underlying organizational structures to help minimize the impact on our students and on our research and teaching mission. The good news is that we still have $260 million of general fund budget to deploy in service to our students and to our mission. However, we need to make some evolutionary adjustments to our structures in order to minimize duplication and the associated costs, as well as to identify activities that we simply can no longer afford to do. In addition, we need to also invest in opportunities for future growth. Akron Online is a good example where we've made a promise, and we have already made good progress in a short period of time towards fulfilling that promise. We need to view this budget setting process as starting from a clean slate, with a budget in excess of $250 million. But how do we bridge from our current structure, which has served us well, to a new structure that is needed in these new times? Our university structure is represented in our financial system as layers that start at the front edge of the university, our departments. Several departments will combine to form some sort of a mid-level organizational unit. For example, colleges or schools in the academic areas. Finally, mid-level areas will combine under an appropriate executive, usually a vice president. As our general fund budgets change from $325 million to $260 million per year, we need to assess how we have been spending general funds to meet our mission and to make sure that that mix of expenditures is optimal. There are many ways to have this discussion, but the recommendation will be very subjective without appropriate benchmark data. The best benchmarks include NACUBO-defined functional expenses and, for academic areas only, the Delaware cost study. Given that we need to adjust spending across the entire University of Akron enterprise, a functional expense allocation approach will be deployed using benchmarks developed by the University Council Budget Committee and reviewed by Faculty Senate and University Council. Once the mix of expenditures is defined, the department budgets will be reset. Those budgets bundled into mid-level and meso-level discussions about mergers and adjustments, which will result in a new University of Akron budget for fiscal year 2021. Let me give a bit more detail on what is envisioned. Here's our general fund budget and transfers. It is also reported across these functional expense categories for our core expenditures. I will point you to specific definitions for these functional expense categories in a subsequent slide. As you can see, we spend about 45% of our core budget on instruction and departmentally sponsored research. This work is the front-edge faculty engagement in the lab and the classroom with our students. Student services includes such things as the Registrar's Office and Student Affairs. Academic and institutional support includes many of the administrative oversight activities, including the Dean's Office staff, the finance areas, HR, and other vice president level offices. We need to address up front the right mix of funding that goes to meet the requirements of each of these types of activity. It is tempting to set your least favorite expenditure to zero perhaps, but universities are living, breathing ecosystems, and all of these vital activities are important to maintaining and nurturing the health of the University of Akron. So, University Council Budget Committee can help define those allocations for functional spending. But how does that affect me in my department? What will happen in my department? This is where we have already started some work. First, we need to translate functional budgets into budgets that are linked to the frontline departments and the affiliated mid-levels. Each department has a budget that is populated from contributions from each of these functional spend codes. This already exists. So in the made-up example that I show here in this slide, Kangaroo Studies gets funding from almost every functional category, but the majority of their funding is linked to their undergraduate degree, or in the Kubo terms, the instructional functional category. The Rural Research Institute, however, gets most of its funding from separately budgeted research. Looking across the entire university, we can apportion the fraction of funds available to each functional category to specific departments that currently exist. Once the total dollars for instruction is reset, for example, we can adjust that portion of the budget for each department. All department budgets will be bundled and discussed within a given college with a goal of meeting the mission within the funding that is available in that college. We are not only bundling those budgets for discussion on how to deploy the money that we do have, we are simultaneously reducing the number of colleges to assure that we have the best chance to find cost savings from reduction or elimination of curricular and/or administrative redundancies. If you want to dig into these functional expense classification, here's a link that provides some description of these codes. These are very helpful in tracking what's often called administrative bloat. Such questions often arise from the faculty. Administrative costs are buried within many functional codes, although commonly held views of administration overhead will include academic support, institutional support, student services, plant, and other transfers. Viable universities must support all of these functional areas. The good news is we have benchmark data available, and so we can compare our operations to those of institutions that we choose as being appropriate peers. This indeed is the data that can guide our deliberations and our decisions going forward. The deans, under the able leadership of Interim Provost Ergo, were working on this challenge prior to my arrival. The deans had a focus on supporting our community of scholars, students, and faculty, as well as our vibrant research mission. They sought to promote opportunity to collaborate and to gain efficiency. We will remain student-focused as we make these adjustments. All students admitted into a degree granting program will be supported in completing a degree of their choice in the major that they chose as promised. I believe the deans have a good start to a plan that is already making its way through our shared governance bodies. The plan reduces administrative overhead while enhancing the student and faculty experience, as well as academic and scholarly excellence. This includes research and graduate programs. The plan seeks opportunities for collaboration. This plan, or one augmented by your suggestions, and after review by Faculty Senate and University Council, will yield savings by bringing programs together that can share resources, stimulate new areas of growth, and reduce the inherent overhead costs of maintaining administrative offices. The plan shown here is to reduce to 5 colleges by merging programs together thematically. Deans considered intellectual synergy, accreditation constraints, as well as cost savings in developing this proposal. The names of the colleges shown here are placeholders and can be adjusted after further discussion of the faculty within the newly constituted colleges. I do want to take a moment to thank the deans for their good work here in starting this discussion. This week, I vetted this proposal with University Council Executive Committee, as well as the Faculty Senate Executive Committee. The Faculty Senate Executive Committee has responded with some suggested adjustments and questions. Their response is also posted on the OAA website, and I will highlight some of their ideas here. First, the Faculty Senate Executive Committee recommends that the LeBron James Family Foundation School of Education be included with the Health Professions College instead of the Buchtel College of Arts and Sciences. I've already discussed this alternative proposal with the deans, and they in turn are eager to meet with the faculty of the LeBron James Family Foundation School of Education to share perspectives and seek to make best recommendations to me and the President for final action. A second recommendation from the Faculty Senate Executive Committee is to consider appointing the Institute of Polymer Science and Engineering faculty within standing academic colleges, the Buchtel College of Arts and Sciences and Engineering in particular. I have met with the Dean of the Polymer Science Polymer Engineering College to gain his perspective on Faculty Senate Executive Committee's recommendation. Finally, Faculty Senate Executive Committee raised additional concerns about Wayne College and the Bachelor's of Supervision degree offering, which are under consideration as well. I will continue to consult on these and related issues with Faculty Senate and University Council in the coming weeks. We are on a tight timeline, so we do have to have compassionate and careful deliberations, but we also have to be timely. A careful review of this proposed structure shows that no programs have been eliminated at this time, and ongoing college-level discussions will need to assess what can be done within each college with the funding available. The hard part is now upon us, having a college-by-college discussion of relative priorities shaped by the needs of the students, the region, and our historic mission. We will be developing additional tools and frameworks collaboratively to bring that conversation forward so that we can develop a new fiscal year 2021 budget. As these new structures settle into a rhythm in the coming years, further evolution of our budget, which we intend to grow, will occur. We are on a journey, and we have just started. This will be transformational for the University of Akron, and it will be transformational in a good way. This is the moment to think about our future. In closing, let's talk about the need for speed. To remind you, each month we continue to operate in the business as usual mode puts us further behind in our quest to keep our promises as the University of Akron. We need to move forward through this rough patch with alacrity. COVID-19 will continue to disrupt lives and our society. That disruption is manifesting itself in these difficult decisions which are now upon us. Most of our sister institutions are having similar discussions. As shown here, the time schedule will have us completing a new fiscal year 2021 budget in time for the next regularly scheduled board meeting in June. Actual dollar allocations to newly formed colleges will be available by May 13th, but colleges can commence discussions immediately based on a nominal 25% reduction in general fund budgets. Those new college-level discussions need to result in a budget plan for fiscal year 2021 by the end of May. I'm sure you have ideas, questions, comments, and concerns. We have two avenues for you to engage. First, if you are interested in a community discussion and an interchange of ideas, we have set up a Brightspace website for discussion. A link to that discussion board can be found on the OAA website. On the other hand, if you prefer to offer open-ended comments in a more personal or private fashion, we have a Microsoft Forms link on the OAA website as well. You can submit your comments anonymously if you choose, although we will ask if you would like to share your email address in case we would like to follow up with you. I realize that these past few months have been extremely stressful. Despite the COVID-19 challenges, you have all risen above. We are doing important work for our students, for Akron, for society, and you do it extremely well. I cannot thank you enough for your dedication and hard work. I'm so pleased to be part of the ZIP family, and I'm looking forward to getting to know each of you personally. Please know that we are all doing our best to get through this difficult moment in a way that affords a brighter future. We need to support and to lift each other up. Go Zips!